Continuing education knows that at the end, students want to graduate, and we can help them do that because we take the time to really listen to their needs and we understand all the different options that are available across the campus for them.
We don't take a cookie cutter approach. We realize each student comes with their own story. So whether it's a part-time student looking to complete a degree program or someone just looking for online courses, we're there to connect them to the resources of the university.
Good afternoon and welcome. Thanks for seeing us through the technical difficulties, and welcome to the world's greatest writing assistant in collaboration with AI. We've got a little bit of housekeeping to do for the film and the live stream, so we'll go with that. So for recording purposes, not that I think you people don't know that today is April 11th, 2024. It is 3:15, give or take, and this is panel number 18041. And obviously the title is AI, the world's greatest writing assistant. So before we get started, the University of Colorado Boulder has asked me to read this. The University of Colorado Boulder, Colorado's flagship university, honors and recognizes the many contributions of indigenous peoples in our state. CU Boulder acknowledges that it is located on the traditional territories and ancestral homelands of the Cheyenne, Arapaho, Ute, and many other Native American nations. Their forced removal from these territories has caused devastating and lasting impacts. While the University of Colorado Boulder can never undo or rectify this devastation wrought on our indigenous peoples, we commit to improving and enhancing engagement with indigenous peoples and issues locally and globally. CU will do this by recognizing and amplifying the voices of indigenous CU Boulder students, staff, faculty in their work, educating and conducting research, supporting student success and integrating indigenous knowledge, consulting and engaging and working collaboratively, easy for me to say, with tribal nations to enhance our ability to provide access and culturally sensitive support and to recruit, retain, and graduate Native American students in a climate that is inclusive and respectful. And we will not read any more today. But I'm excited for this panel. So you all are part of an experiment. You know, if you've been to the Conference of World Affairs, and I've done many of these, usually we're sitting up here. We will leave lots of time for questions at the end, but we will probably come out and talk to you a little bit, because we're gonna do this very interactively. And I'll say again, if you don't have a good view of the screens, please move in such a way that you do. But let me introduce to you our two panelists today, and we'll start with Emma Nadell, who grew up a little ahead of her time on a solar-powered cattle ranch in rural Colorado without cable television, which is why she's here, and she's really smart. But her parents were movie buffs, and she had a robust collection of films. She is now a writer, director, producer who champions original storytelling. Fun fact, her talent caught the attention of someone named Oprah Winfrey, who came on to produce her Blacklist script, The Waterman, when she was just 24 years old. So that was yesterday, the day before.
Exactly.
And it had its premiere at the 2020 Toronto International Film Festival. Most recently, she was featured in the Forbes 30 Under 30 list and is in post-production on a short film that uses virtual production. Thanks for being here.
Thank you. Oh.
Our second panelist is Jake Sally, who is an Emmy-nominated producer, and he's COO of, am I saying it right, Jadu? Mm-hmm. Correct? First of its kind multiplayer augmented reality fighting game for mobile. So think Street Fighter, but in the real world, for those of you who play. He also oversaw content development at Riot, Verizon's internal content innovation company, using tech including VR, AR, artificial intelligence, projection mapping, physical installations, 5G, and motion capture. His work has appeared in the 2018 Super Bowl. We don't know what those are in Colorado anymore. We don't know what playoffs are anymore. The Sundance Film Festival, Tribeca Film Festival, South by Southwest, Cannes, and Barbican in London. His projects have won numerous awards, including a BAFTA, Emmy, and a Peabody. And he's a graduate of Princeton. So welcome. So when we talk about this, I'm going to turn it over to these two, but here's the real key to this panel. Not only is it different, it's going to be interactive. One of those two is actually an AI robot. And so by the end of the panel, I want you to try to figure out which one it is. With that, I'm going to turn it over to our panelists.
Awesome. All right. So to kick things off, if we want to slide on to the next slide. For this one, it's going to be really focused on our goals for this are going to be around, we want to kind of teach you some of the basics of AI tools, what it is, what it isn't, when to use it, when not to use it. And we want to we're going to have Emma be screen sharing while we're creating some of this stuff so you can see straight up what she is doing and what the output of that is. Now, that takes a couple different forms. If we want to get started, let's go to the next one. Slide along. All the way down to the basics. Yeah.
Yeah, the basics of the pitch decks and storyboards.
Yeah.
I just want to talk a little bit too about pitch decks and storyboards, why we're doing it in this format. We'll get into it in a second, but we're being very intentional with why we want to do a live demo of building a pitch deck with AI. We want to talk too about how with AI you can create a pitch deck faster, better, cheaper, and why pitch decks are the perfect tool for AI. And then we're going to make this pitch deck live, all of us together. We're going to generate an original idea and create it, just like I would create a pitch deck for a Hollywood pitch. So we're all going to come up together in this room with the help of AI and original images here. So it's going to be pretty wild.
So,
Make sure you're following me so you can see.
yeah, I got you.
Great.
So, to kick things off, we're going to talk about the two different ways that we're going to be using this today. So if we go to the first way that we're going to be using AI, it's going to be focused on text to image. So really what that means is we're going to type in a prompt, and then it's going to spit back out a picture. So here we see, the prompt I'd put in when we were putting this pitch deck together is, I'd like an epic image of someone presenting a slideshow on AI set on campus at CU Boulder with the Flatirons in the background. So within a couple of seconds, we got this spit back out. I think we're a better looking crowd and presenters than what we're seeing here. I wish this was outside, but alas, here we are. But this is kind of going to be the first format, so text to image. The second format that we're going to be using for the purpose of this pitch deck is more conversational. So we're going to input conversational text, and we're going to get back out conversational text. So in this instance, we have, I was like, what are 3 easy tips to avoid stage fright when presenting to a class of college students and graduates? Each point should be 1 sentence long. Then we'll get into kind of like the best vernacular to use with AI, but it's helpful to give it a sense of, do you want a long response, a short response? So we get back, rehearse your presentation, start with questions or a poll, practice deep breathing. Of course, I did not do any of this. And you can ask a follow-up. It is a conversation. This is an ongoing thing. This is not simply you putting a question into Google and getting spit back out one thing. You're actually having an ongoing conversation, which we'll see later on in the presentation. But any advice on what I should wear? Keep it brief. Choose an outfit that's professional yet comfortable. I think we've done pretty well here. Yeah, doing all right.
Thank you, AI.
Thank you, AI, for dressing me when I get out of bed in the morning. So these are the two pieces, text to image and conversation. So we're going to get bigger text blocks out. Let's go to the next one. I think one thing that we really want to harp on here is that this is a tool. It is as much a tool as a computer, a pencil and eraser, a calculator, a dry erase board. What it is not is a cheat code. You cannot use this to do the work for you. It still requires you to do the work. If we look at these images, which of course I created with AI, today what we're looking at is, maybe this image on the left, I can get probably like a mile down the road. There's a couple twists and turns, which is nice, so I can kind of, improve myself. AI is going to kind of put you in a car. You're going to be able to drive further, maybe a little bit faster, but you still have to put that foot to the gas. What AI is not is a magical portal to have everything be done for you. Go ahead.
So a few things on the ethics of AI. I'm a screenwriter, And a ChatGPT, which was the screenshot you saw earlier a few slides ago, is being trained on screenplays without writers' permission. So there's a lot going on legally with AI. We are not legal experts, so we'll tell you what we know, but the rules are constantly changing, and you have to be aware of the ethics at all times, both because it's the right thing to do, but also because you don't want to find yourself in a situation where you're breaking the law. So one really important thing to keep in mind, AI art does not have a copyright. So if you create an image in AI and that image sells to somebody else, if anyone finds out about that, you could get in some trouble. Or if you generate an animated video using AI, you don't own it at all. So that's the current law. There are multiple lawsuits going on with AI. So again, why we wanted to show you the power it has in creating pitch decks. It's very intentional. We'll get more into that later. But moral of the story, you don't own the images you create. The images we're going to create here together, none of us own. It is an amazing brainstorm tool. When I create pitch decks before AI, I would literally screen grab films. I would hunt them down and be like, okay, I know exactly the shot from this Tarantino film or this anime film, whatever it was, and I'd screen grab. So I was already doing that, but it only got me 50% because the works I was creating were original. So now I can use AI to get the exact image I want, the exact image in my brain that has never been created before, and that's immensely powerful. But again, what I'm using it for is to pitch an original idea, and I will then create the final product with a team of human artists. What it's also amazing for is to help you make your own work, to inspire you. I'm working on a fantasy novel right now, and I'm using AI to build the Bible of this world. And when I say the Bible, it's really the kind of creative cornerstone of the entire project. So instead of hunting on Google Images to find the character that I have in my mind, I can generate that character in AI. But that's just for my reference. That's when AI becomes the most amazing, world-changing, work-changing tool of all.
Also known as a writer's assistant.
Yeah, basically a great writer's assistant. So yeah, we're not going to get into all the ethics in this particular panel because we are going to get you really excited. But again, tread carefully with this and be aware of the dangers and the ethics of AI. Cool.
So I think the question here is so what do I use a pitch deck for exactly? Pitch deck serves kind of like three key pieces. And what's nice is you're getting, on one hand, Emma's perspective as someone who is a creator, usually making the pitch deck, to then go pitch it to someone. And then on the flip side, as a producer and financier, I'm usually the one who's reading those pitch decks and can kind of say, okay, this is what's good, here are some do's and don'ts, and between the two of us, we've got some really good 360 coverage on what its purpose is, where it's most valuable. I think on one hand, it's a really good way to get to what's not the elevator pitch, but maybe I would say airport escalator pitch, where it's really what's a quick 5 to 10 minute overview that is going to let you also clarify your own vision. You may be like, I've got this crazy idea for a Western, be like, okay, what type of Western? Who are the characters in the Western? So there's a couple just key pieces that you can get into one place so that the core of the story, the very foundation of what it is all in one place, and you understand it enough that you can pitch it to someone, which is harder than it sounds. Now, the second piece of that is generating excitement. It's about getting not just yourself amped on this, but also getting other people that might want to fund the project or people that might want to collaborate with you on the project. If you're like, hey, I'm a writer, but I actually need someone who does graphic art, or I want to be a filmmaker for this and I need an editor, how do you excite that editor? How do you excite that brand that may want to come in and sponsor the piece of content you're making? You have to provide a pitch deck. And I can say confidently, we've both worked in Hollywood for a long time. Everyone needs pretty pictures. It's just the way it is. You got to do it.
Everyone likes to read. Everyone likes to look at stuff.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So feed that visual urge for people. And then the last piece is kind of like this blueprint for creation.
Yeah, and that's what I was saying about the creative Bible. If you're a filmmaker, if you're a writer, if you want to, if you're a painter, having a creative Bible, your references, is a really good way to save you time, because then you can go in with whatever you're creating with your specific and honed in vision. And that's for me why I get excited about using AI, because again, it's an amazing resource for research for me to find out the original thing I actually want to create with my own blood, sweat, and tears.
Okay, so now we're going to talk to you about, so you know kind of what it's about, what it's supposed to do, but like what's actually in a pitch deck. So we're going to go through these somewhat quickly because we're going to actually make our own pitch deck, and that's why we're all here. But you know, the title, you want it to be something that's inspiring. If this is, you know, Blue Chair the musical, hard to want to pay attention to that. You know, give it some oomph, make it something powerful. Game of Thrones, perfect. You know, it's inspiring, you're interested, there's a lot to it. The next piece is the format. So like, how do people experience this story? You know, we really think the type of pitch deck format we're going to talk to you about, it can be used for anything. If you want to make a musical, if you want to make like a story-driven Instagram account, if you want to make a film, TV show, all of those are open for this format that we're going to show. But I think what's important is that you clearly articulate in the pitch deck how people consume this thing. You'd be surprised the number of pitch decks that I read the whole thing and you're like, so is it a movie, or like what is this piece of content that's supposed to be? So you want to be specific with that. Genre and tone are the next piece. This is the vibe. This is what tells you what it is. Is it a drama? Is it fantasy? Maybe it's like a buddy comedy. Give people a sense of what they should be expecting as part of this. World and setting, this is really like, where is it taking place? When is it taking place? Again, these are all pieces that help ground the reader and let them kind of imagine this world. The best pitch deck makes the person who's reading it have to imagine very little because they really understand what it is. Next up is kind of the main character.
The main character or the protagonist, who they are, and especially what do they want and why. And there's no such thing as a story without a little bit of conflict. So what's standing in the way of them getting it? It could be an antagonist or a villain. It could be a road movie where they have to get from point A to point B, and there isn't a villain so much as obstacles in the way. But regardless, a story needs a character and conflict.
Keep going.
Okay. So what we're going to, So then the log line, some of you have probably heard this before, that's the compelling one-sentence story summary, which we're all going to work on together for our pitch deck. The themes, the underlying message, really, you know, why you're telling this story. Plot summary, the main events of the story from start to finish. This is also where AI is hugely helpful. Again, what you don't want to use AI for is to write the screenplay or write the story. First of all, ChatGPT came out and I tried. I was like, am I going to be irrelevant? The answer was absolutely not. It's a terrible writer. But what it's really good for is crafting summaries for you. It's an amazing tool for that. And like Doyle and I actually were just talking about if your story is confusing and you say, hey, ChatGPT, like craft me a log line based on the story I just put in, and the log line is a little confusing, it probably means your story has some holes too. So it's just a good gut check. How is your story getting across in the way you want? Can an AI understand it? That's the key thing. We're going to keep going, Emily, but I see we'll come back to you. Side characters. So side characters, there are some movies or some stories where it's just one character trapped in a room. Most of the time it's not. You may have heard something about the character arcs of a story. I love the Craig Mazin, who's a great screenwriter, way of thinking about it, which are character arcs are irrelevant. Relationship arcs are what matter, because relationships ultimately are what define a character and embody how they change. Flavor text, that's probably my favorite part of a pitch deck, where you add just a little bit of dialogue from one of your main characters to kind of give a sense of their voice. And then the mood board, which is the collage of images that give texture to your story. So, depending on if you're doing a vampire story set in the Wild West, or you're doing a romance set on a spaceship, the mood board can help start to give a sense of the tone you're going for and get people excited. Because again, especially if you're doing a pitch deck for Hollywood, no one wants to read. So the mood board's very important.
All right, that's a lot thrown very quickly, and we have not a lot of time, but we're still gonna do it all. We're gonna take all of those bullets we just talked about, we're gonna put them into an AI blender, and we're gonna walk out of here with a project that is greenlit by Netflix. We're ready? All right, let's do this. So what's gonna happen from here? We're gonna start, Doyle is gonna help me out, and we're gonna basically be coming to use the audience for specific answers to some of the pieces in the pitch deck that we were talking about. On screen, Emma is actually going to transition over. Do you want to actually show? You want to slide over? Yeah. So Emma's going to have 2 different AI programs open. She's going to have Midjourney, which is for AI art, and she's going to have ChatGPT, which is for the conversational AI. So you're going to be able to see how the sausage is made as we go through this. We have finite time, so we're going to do the best we can with the time we have, but we trust you guys to get us there. So, really, first up, we got a couple questions we need to have answered. The first question is, so what genre do you think we should work with? We got some options. We got maybe like a romance, action, sci-fi, fantasy. Let's try and find one of these. This gentleman in the back with the champion sweatshirt. This is a big one.
Let's go with fantasy.
Hell
Okay,
yeah.
fantasy it is.
All right, fantasy is
Having
our
a
genre.
fantasy.
And I think one thing here is when you think about genre and tone, think about it like genre is kind of like the color. Is it red? Is it blue? Is it yellow? But then the tone is actually giving a bit more specificity. It's the actual shade of that. If it's red, is it kind of like a magenta, or are we going all the way down to like a soft rose?
And a good example with this too is fantasy, right? You can have Harry Potter, which is more whimsical. You can have Game of Thrones, which is more dramatic. Or you can even have Dungeons and Dragons, which is comedic. So we know we have a fantasy, but what's the tone of the fantasy?
Yeah, who's up next? Who's going to help us find our tone out here? Yeah, she's been taking lots of notes. She definitely knows. She knows the answer.
I'm sorry, I was writing.
No worries.
Okay, you can get the next one. See what happens if you don't pay attention at the conference for World Affairs.
What do we got?
Gritty or dark?
Gritty
Hell
or dark fantasy.
All right,
okay.
We're
Gritty,
trending
dark
into
fantasy.
Let's go.
Game of Thrones territory very
Yeah.
quickly.
Okay. Oh, and another thing I'll say, we're going to use, we're going to make it an animated film, just because it's a little faster to do that with ChatGPT than trying to worry about the characters being real. So it's going to be a dark, gritty fantasy. So let's figure out where our story is set. It could be at a university campus, in a city, in space. Space
University
fantasy is
campus.
A university campus, okay.
Uh-oh.
We're getting like dark Hogwarts over here? Okay.
Little dark academia going on?
Yeah, some dark academia.
Yeah.
Let's go.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. We're staying on campus. Love it.
All right, who wants to do a main character? Throw a hand up. All right, we got a main character back here.
Yes. So we're going to
And
have...
what do they want is very important too.
Yeah. Get...
And if we need some help with ChatGPT, we could ask the AI gods for help.
I like the little girl in pink in the middle
Cute.
Yes.
as the main one, but I like the girl on the right too. She looks a bit more whimsical. I don't know.
Yeah.
The
Gotta-
girl on the right, actually.
Okay.
Yeah.
So do we want to use ChatGPT for help with a name, or do we want to come up, someone have an idea for a name here? Oh, we got an idea for a name.
Yes.
We could probably hear you if you want to call it out.
Okay, who's old enough to remember Phil Donahue? That's what I feel like right now. Where was our name over here?
And remember, tone and genre, dark, academia, fantasy.
How about Zalandra?
Salandra. Great. Will you write that down?
Good name.
Yeah.
Salandra. And what does Salandra want? Do you have a feeling of what she wants?
Power.
Power. Oh, love it. That's a good story. Okay, cool. Okay, and we can come up with this. Again, if someone has an idea, we can get there. But Solandra wants power at her university. It is a dark, gritty fantasy. Does anyone have an idea of who or what is standing in the way?
She doesn't have tenure.
Wow, okay. So
Trying to
she's
get-
actually a professor. Okay, here
This is
we
going to
go.
be called Too Close to Home. I think.
Yeah, Professor Solandra. Let's go. All right. So we're going to start by creating, I don't have to actually exit out of that right now. We're going to start by creating a title page. So I'm using Midjourney. Do you want to talk about Midjourney a little bit?
Yeah, so Midjourney, so what's nice is ChatGPT, you do have the ability to do images directly in it. For us personally, we find that Midjourney in particular does a little bit better job on kind of the image creation and the quality of that image. It gives you a lot of controls. It's kind of like a very deep rabbit hole, you know, like using Excel, you can use it to add things, but you can also start to get into really complex equations. That's where Midjourney is helpful. You can get as specific as if you're like, oh, I like this character's face that I got, but I don't like the shape of her ears. You could kind of like highlight the ears and it'll like redo the ears for you. That's awesome. It has a format that we're going to see Emma's doing right now, which is actually usually you put in a prompt and then you're going to get back 4 very different images. So Emma, what did you put in for the text for this first go around?
Yeah, hopefully I made it a little bigger, so hopefully everyone can see. But so I'm using Midjourney. Movie poster for an animated film, comma. The commas are important. Basically, it gives different weights based on what you have in between the commas. And this is on Discord. It's you can do a paid version, but it's also free. So movie poster for an animated film, comma, starring a blonde female professor of magic. And if there are any edits, by the way, to the prompt, feel free to call them out. Set in a dark university, fantasy genre, gritty and dark, cinematic lighting, cell shaded, which cell shaded basically means animated, in the style of what's a good style to use?
Yeah, what style? What's kind of the
The Exorcist. Is there like an animated version of that? In the style of like the what was it? The Black Cauldron or something?
Black Clover?
Wasn't that the Crystal Cave?
Okay,
Is that an animated film? Cool. Let's see what happens. So now we wait for the AI gods.
Maybe put that full screen when it pops up, just so we can get
Yeah.
like first blush. You
Yeah,
know,
it's coming.
Yeah.
So we'll generate. Do we want to like start working on a log line while we wait?
Yeah, I think let's start working on a log line. Maybe
Okay.
we ask it for 4 different log lines, and we can. I think collectively, basically, what we're going to do is we're going to ask the conversational AI now. We're going to say, hey, this is the setup of the story. This is the character. This is what they want. Can you give me 3 different? Let's do 3.
Okay.
Can you give me 3 different versions of a log line? So the 1-sentence description of the story, and we're going to pick one of these and we're going to lock it in. And again, where this I think gets really helpful is like you may even know this is what I want my story to be. You have, as we've seen, kind of the foundational pieces of what that could look like, but now we want some help to kind of like throw some things at the wall, see what sticks, be able to use AI to kind of remix it and kind of help us. Honestly, it's a good way to get these ideas out of your head and see them visually and then say, this makes sense, this doesn't make sense. So what did we end up putting in, Emma?
Act like a writer. We need 3 different log lines for the following story. A dark and gritty fantasy movie set on a university campus. The main character is Professor Solandra. Is that spelled right as you imagined? Okay. And she wants power. However, what's standing in her way is not getting tenure.
Beautiful. Now, we're going to see.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, how do we feel about any of these?
Ooh.
Oh, all right. This is juicy. All right, really quick, how do we feel about any of these posters? These don't feel really postery to me. I don't know if you can see, Jake.
I think we could use one.
Okay.
Definitely.
Is there any that everyone likes, or the first person I hear? Basically, 1. Bottom left. 1, 2, 3, 4. Bottom left.
2. Ooh.
Ooh, we got some. What are we gonna do?
I think we're going with 3 is what I heard a lot of.
3 for bottom left. I did hear that first. So we're gonna do this. So now it's gonna give us a big image of this. There's
Dang.
Solandra.
She's got things to prove.
Yeah, okay, so now we're gonna go back here, work on our log line. So here are the different log lines.
With a title, it looks like.
With titles, which we didn't say, but it's fine. Crimson Ambition. At the mystical Winterwood University, Professor Salandra harnesses forbidden dark arts in a desperate bid to secure her tenure. But her thirst for power leads her into a shadowy underworld that could either make her career or shatter her soul. Okay, so this is pretty good. Do we want to read all three of them?
Yeah, I think
Okay.
we got to pick one of three.
Yeah, we have to pick one of three. So, in the hallowed halls of Eldritch University, Professor Salandra seeks the ultimate power through an ancient arcane tenure ritual, battling unseen forces and her own dark desires. She must decide if her soul's worth the price of success.
Steamy.
Dark Academia. At a university where magic and academia intertwine, Professor Salandra's pursuit of tenure unveils a sinister path to power. As she delves deeper into the campus's occult secrets, she faces a moral dilemma that challenges the very essence of her ambition.
All right, hold on. All in favor of one, raise your hand. All in favor of two, raise your hand. All in favor of three, raise your hand. I think it's three.
I think it's three. Okay.
All right, Dark Academia.
We had an interesting comment back here too. Notice how I think the phrase was Barbie. All the images that came out there weren't any people of color. That's what AI decided to see today.
I did write blonde in there.
Oh, you did write blonde.
But-
That's right.
So we could change
Yeah.
it if we want to not have a white girl. That's
But-
totally fair.
It's too late. We're moving on.
Okay, but yeah, I did write blonde. I'll even show, yeah. But let me see. Let me get it back. Yeah, I did write blonde, so that's on me. That's true. But that also is something to consider with AI. So okay, and I will get
Dark
the log
Academia?
line. Yeah. So, do we like the title Dark Academia? Also, we could riff on different titles, but
I think we're going to keep moving.
okay.
So we're going to get to side characters, and I think we will definitely throw a dean in the mix. But we got to keep going.
Cool.
All right, Dark Academia, starring Salandra. She's got things to prove, but will it cost her her very soul? We shall see.
Nope.
Yep. So let's talk a little bit about, I think we'll throw in the format and genre and tone. I think we've got these down, so I'm just going to go ahead and
Yeah,
put these in.
put 'em
But
in.
format, what do we think? This could be is this a movie? Is this a TV show? A comic book? Is this a TikTok account?
I did tell ChatGPT. Oh, it just said story, so yeah, it could be anything.
How are we feeling?
Miniseries.
Limited series. Okay.
Okay.
Love it. Sweet. Gonna add some of these in. I mean, we do have 4 years of school. I would hate to just make it a limited series, but here we are. We're gonna do it.
Okay.
Okay.
Cool. Great.
Great.
So now we want to get a little more detail into the world.
Yes.
And we're going to have an image for that. So we want to hear, so first things first, in this Dark Academia, it doesn't talk about the, what this campus is, or, where it's set. We had Winterwood University was one example. Eldritch University was another. Maybe someone here has some ideas of what this university could be called, or we could ask ChatGPT to brainstorm a couple different ideas for us.
Can we? Okay. Why don't we ask ChatGPT this? Why don't we
Okay.
say, can we turn Colorado University at Boulder into a Dark Academia name? Let's throw it in the blender, see what comes out. And one of the things that's really nice we haven't really touched on yet is that, in the same way that if Emma and I had a conversation, I would probably remember most of it at least, is it remembers earlier parts of the conversation. So if you reference something at the start, it's going to remember that. Ooh, okay, all right, now we're getting somewhere.
Okay, someone liked something over here.
So we got Boulder Shadow College, Grimstone University, Blackridge Hall, Twilight Peak Academy, Obsidian Bluff Institute.
And University of Texas.
All right. I'm hearing this gentleman in the front, very passionate. Number 5, Obsidian
I've
Bluff.
heard a few passionate.
Are we happy with the
yeah.
Go Bluffs? Go Bluffs?
Go, yeah.
All right. Love it. So now I think let's take it a step further and actually ask it to put together a description.
Yeah.
Great. So yeah, maybe let's describe it in more detail. Where, the ecology of the space.
Oh, the what do we want to? What do we want in this world setting?
Yeah. Anything people want to know? Anything that's in people's heads? What time of day? What time of year? What time? Is this the Dark Ages, Middle Ages, present ages?
We'll start with just keep it. We'll start with just something. We'll go from
Okay,
there.
fair enough.
Anybody have an idea?
What are
Not
they?
really
What are they
brief
known
with it.
for?
Yeah. What are they known for? That's a
Yeah.
great. And then I would say let's keep it brief.
Yeah,
So
always.
Okay, an idea coming.
It sits on an energy vortex.
Ooh, deep. All right, energy vortex. Let's
so-
throw that in the mix. Right at the edge. It is
Anyone
on a
else?
bluff.
Oh, more ideas?
Yep.
It's a university for vampires.
One more time.
University for Vampires?
Okay. Vampiric arts. Great. We got some vortex component. Sir, I heard one more over there. Some sort of
let's get a
ore.
third.
Did I
Is
hear
there a
some
third
ore?
thing?
Love it. Near the black craggy irons. Beautiful. So I think 2 things we're going to get out of this. We're going to get a description, which is great. And we're also going to use this to make an image.
Okay. Maybe we can just use ChatGPT for that, or should we use Midjourney?
Your call.
Okay. We'll
Yeah.
probably use it Midjourney.
Yeah.
Well, let's see what ChatGPT. Let's do both.
Yeah. So now we can kind of compare and contrast a little bit, which will be really nice. Also, team, how are we tracking on time?
We've got about 20 minutes left.
Okay. Generate an image for this setting.
Right, and I'm gonna have
the
us.
style of an animated film, cell shaded. Okay, so while that's cooking, we'll go back here. Imagine
It's like 25 minutes.
Okay.
a
We wanna say-
dark university near the black craggy cliffs. Is that what we said? Irons. I think it would be a little tricky because this is Midjourney. But here's what's being generated from ChatGPT, which people seem to like. I see the energy vortex for sure. Looks very Hogwarts, so you can see where the vortex. Good. No.
So, and you know what's nice is you can kind of be mean to it. You can be like, this is terrible. Do a better job at this. And honestly, you can't do this in school, but, bullying the AI definitely does force it to usually do a better job. Yeah.
Oh, on top of the vortex. Whoops. Let's see what it does. A dark university set near the black craggy irons
All
above.
right, so I definitely want to make sure we get flavor text.
Okay.
And I want to make sure we get to themes. I think I feel like we've got a good sense of Salandra. We're going to kind of skip the main character slide here.
Okay. We'll come back to it in a second. Okay, so I want to put the Obsidian Institute in for, put this in.
Yep.
Cool.
I think if we let's maybe throw the mood board in next.
Okay. Because we're running out of time.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Well, themes are. I think we can do it kind of.
Okay, you're right.
Quickly, because we need the story, right? We don't actually have the story. What is she doing with her soul? So that's the big question, right? So now we have Salandra. We have the Obsidian Bluff Institute. It's above a vortex in the craggy black crags. So now we know that she wants tenure as a sinister path to power. And as she delves deeper into the campus's secret, she faces a moral dilemma that challenges the essence of her ambition. So in order to figure out what the story is, we need to center on a theme. Is the theme, a Pandora's box, and in her pursuit of power, she opened something that she didn't intend to? It could be that, it could be anything. So if we have an idea for theme, call it out, or we can ask ChatGPT for some help too.
What about knowledge is power?
Okay, yeah. Brainstorm some themes for this story, and what this moral dilemma is.
And what I think you'll start to see with this is it's providing it's like providing you a charcuterie board of different options, but you still are the one who gets to pick it up and decide, yes, I want to eat this thing. There's always that one thing on the board that you're like, that makes no sense. I don't want anything to do with that. And I think same here, like as a writer's assistant, its job and what you can use it for that it does really well is providing lots of options, and then you really seeing and picking, this one resonates with me, these ones don't resonate with me. So that's I've found to be a really, really useful way to kind of iterate through your creative process.
And I think too, the danger is, if you rely on it too much to create all of your stories with it, it's going to end up being pretty cliche. So you want to be careful with that. But again, it can help as a brainstorm assistant, which is what we're doing here. Cool. So here are some of the themes: ambition versus morality, power and corruption, isolation versus community, secrets and revelation, humanity versus the supernatural. I know we're a little bit running out of time, so we probably just want to keep it quick. Is there one that? Number one, ambition versus morality. Yeah, totally. That's the story. Cool. Yeah, there you go. Her morality, maybe if we want to bring in the love interest now, maybe her morality, something has to happen with the love interest, where he represents the choice to the moral path or something. Cool.
Is the dean a he?
Great question.
Let's talk about it. Should she be a she? I love that. So tell us about the she dean.
The lady dean. It seems like everyone's on a power trip.
She should represent the moral choice, or yeah, well, we could just ask how she could act.
An idea?
Yeah.
She's doing a dissertation on the chemistry and energetics of patriarchy. And she's trying to unravel the forces that have kept her imprisoned for millennia.
Someone kiss.
Green lit at Netflix.
Yeah.
Another version of AI is spell check.
Yeah, exactly.
with words.
Don't worry about it. Solandra's doing a dissertation on the dark forces of the patriarchy. Cool. Let's see what this.
Okay, this person is with us.
Yes, star student.
I'm wondering if we have to have conflict. So
We do.
Who's her antagonist?
Exactly.
She's a pretty dark character
She
too.
is.
I'm not going to suggest.
But so it sounds like the dean is the antagonist, but she's also the love interest. Now we're getting a little. Exactly.
So
Maybe someone else who's competing for the tenure track.
The dean is transgender and is struggling with the inherent masculine energy.
The what? Okay, the setting picture. I did miss that because my darling was talking to me.
In order to get tenure, she has to do something really bad, like steal someone's soul or something.
There we go. Okay. Solandra learns that in order to get tenure, she has to steal someone's soul. Generate a brief story summary for us with clear Act 3 structure. We'll say 5 to 6 sentences. There we go. That's the conflict. There it is. Who needs ChatGPT? Right. We got writers right here. Okay, so while that's happening, while it's generating, we want to get the world. Let's see, ooh, do we like any of these for our setting image?
I think we're going to be focused more on the story aspect of this. We're going to keep going, so we're doing great.
Oh, but okay. I mean, number four? Okay. It's a very grim university. Okay, great. So then we'll add that in. There's Obsidian Bluffs.
Ba-boom.
It looks like vampires definitely go to school there. Okay, so the story. So to add, I'm not even going to read it because we already know what's happening. And towards their love, she has to sacrifice another soul. Okay, Solandra learns that the soul she has to sacrifice is the dean, aka her love interest. The whole story summary should be 5 sentences. So you can see again, you can talk to it, not like, in Google you have to be, it's sort of you're trying to figure out how to word what you're saying for a search engine. With this, you can write very colloquially. Okay, let's see how we like our story. At the mystical Obsidian Bluff Institute, Professor Solandra is deeply committed to her dissertation on the dark forces of patriarchy, while navigating her growing romantic involvement with the Institute's female dean. As their relationship blossoms, Solandra is confronted with a harrowing tenure ritual. To secure her position, she must steal a soul. The twist of fate is cruel. She discovers that the soul she must sacrifice is none other than the dean's, her confidant and love. Faced with a devastating moral dilemma in Act 3, Solandra must choose between her ambition for power and the love she harbors for the dean. Her decision will forge her future at the Institute, testing her integrity and the depths of her true desires. All right. There we go.
Not bad for a writer's assistant, but I don't know if it would really play in Hollywood. So it's a good start. It's a good start.
I think I've seen that movie.
So I think 2 things I would love to add. I think let's get the flavor text and the mood board, and then I think we're going to wrap it up because we do want to save time for questions.
Okay.
Mood board, I think especially just being able to see what that conceptually looks like. Again, it's a collage of images that in aggregate really give you a good sense of what does the world and the story start to feel like. You should be able to see them. If you kind of like blur your eyes a little bit, you should be like, oh, these are all part of the same world, like Mad Max or Lord of the Rings. If you saw 20, 30 images, you'd be like, this one doesn't belong, or these ones do belong. So we're going to do those 2 things. And a reminder, the flavor text this is like a quote, like almost like a quote from the perspective of one of the characters in the story. And this is a really helpful way to breathe life into the characters, where it goes from we're talking kind of objectively about Solandra to now we're actually hearing from her in her own voice something about the story.
Okay, I'll be right there.
Yeah.
What is the final format of a pitch deck? Is it PowerPoint?
Yeah, so final format. So one thing we're going to do, and we'll skip a little bit ahead while Emma brings these 2 together. So what we're going to have at the end of this is we have a QR code, which will allow you to go to a template version of everything we just showed here, including some best practices for prompts that you can give to both for conversations as well as images. We're going to have our toolkit, so you'll be able to see both ChatGPT and Midjourney, the pricing structure for each, as well as instructional videos that are hyperlinked as part of that. And then as a bonus, because we're sickos and we were up late last night, we actually made a template pitch deck for Game of Thrones. So you have like another reference that has all of the pieces in it. So it's just kind of like a fun way to see, okay, like a fully fleshed out version, this is what it looks like. So we'll provide all of that at the end in this QR code. And yeah, that should kind of give everyone a really nice sense of like, hey, here's how the sausage is made. And then we want everyone to go out and make their own sausage. But Let's see where we're at.
Yep.
Emma, how we doing? Formatting be damned.
Yeah. I have some flavor text ideas for
Okay.
Professor Salandra.
Yeah.
We got a few. Let's pick one. I think I want to save time by not reading them all out loud. So if anyone feels strongly about any of them, call it out. Okay, I heard one first.
Can you read that one?
Magic is not just about power. It's about understanding the price you're willing to pay.
Straight goosebumps. Love it.
So I think if I'm a professional writer, which I am, it's a little generic, but again, it's a good. What it does, right, is it gives you an idea. It gives you the first draft. But I think a human writer, we could do better, but it doesn't matter right now because this is just a demo. But you can kind of see, you can start to iterate, just like, I've worked in television writers' rooms. This is what you do in TV writers' room. You just pitch ideas all the time. And I use ChatGPT to help me, not necessarily with dialogues. I think, again, it feels a little cliche, but things like help me with the log line, etc. But okay, for this demo. So I just named her the Dean Vivian Marrow. If here are her flavor text options. If there's one that speaks to you, call it out. The first one to be called out, we're going to go with 4. You stand at a precipice, Professor. It's your choice whether to step back or leap into the unknown.
Ooh. All right. Let's go, Vivian.
Great. Okay. Where did this other flavor text go? Oh, I see. Okay.
Yeah.
So I think we should come up with what she looks like. Okay, great. I don't know if we have time for mood board, but you could also we could try in ChatGPT.
Let's do mood board real quick. I think that's most important.
Okay.
I think we just make a mood board for this film.
Both are blonde, so sorry about that. We'll go again.
In a world where everyone is blonde,
Yeah.
Vivian stands alone.
Okay. Vivian stands alone. Okay. So.
Okay. While you kind of wrap this up,
Yeah.
I think let's take 1 or 2 questions. Do we have time for questions? Yeah.
And we can go, if everybody's okay, this is the last one in this room, so we can go a little bit long.
Hell yeah.
Y'all are killing me. My DU Pioneers are playing playoff hockey right now. And they're, what's that? Okay, we could. I was given bad information apparently. So.
Let's go to 4:30. We can go to 4:35.
Great.
4:35? Okay.
That gives them 10 minutes. So.
Beautiful.
All right. Anybody have any questions? We'll go away from the paper and pencil and we'll keep on this format here.
Doyle's getting the steps in. It's great. We're going to
Anybody
go
knows the
one
score,
in the
text me.
back, and then we'll go in the front.
So I just had a quick technical question about something Emma was saying earlier. So can you actually, if you've written a synopsis or a treatment, you can then take that and put it into ChatGPT and say generate a log line?
Yeah.
Is that? And do you fear at all that that material will then be used somehow or somewhere else?
Anything that's uploaded online, I feel like is probably already available to everyone. If you've copywritten anything or registered it with the WGA library, that's a pretty good protection. And again, anything you generate in ChatGPT, well, I don't know about ChatGPT, but I'm sure that's coming. But with Midjourney, you don't own the copyright. So if you own the copyright to your story, and they plagiarize a word from it, then yeah, they're probably going to get in trouble. And there are active lawsuits right now with ChatGPT, which, we're on a university campus. Let's talk about that. A huge thing is plagiarizing. If you were to use ChatGPT to write an essay, you have to be really careful. First of all, you should not do that. That's the cheat code. And it doesn't set you up for success in the long term, even if you think you can get an easy A from it right now. But also AI, ChatGPT, it hallucinates. So it will come up with things that aren't real, or it will directly pull. There have been examples of people trying to cheat, writing a whole book, and it will plagiarize something straight out of a Stephen King book. If you do that and you try to pass this off as your own work, you will not have a career. So this is good for iterating, for ideas, excuse my French, for your shitty first draft. But yeah, Emily, to your point, if you have a copyright on your work, that matters more legally.
Now, I will say on the, I will add to this, which is at least in the context of the fear of your work being used and somehow commercialized elsewhere, I think most people should not be particularly concerned about that. Like, it all usually comes down to the quality of the execution. There was a year like 5 years ago where there were like 3 Sleeping Beauty movies that came out all at the same time. It has very little to do with the piece that you made. It's about, did you get, with the script, the manuscript, did you get it made? You know, there's room. There's, I think, a lot of early writers in their career are super concerned about, do I have the copyright? Is it registered with the WGA? No talent agency, no production company. They don't care about any of that. And it's not going to have a huge impact on, if it's either good, it's so good that it's going to get pushed into getting made, or it's not good enough, and then you don't have to worry about it. Hot takes. Gentleman in the front.
You used a lot of words like mood board, log lines. Is ChatGPT know all that?
ChatGPT knows everything.
Yeah.
Yes.
All the technical terms.
Every
included
colloquial
medical.
phrase, like you would be, it's every single time, it's astounding. I'm a really big gamer. You could type in the word noob, which is like a colloquial phrase in gaming for someone who's like new to a game. It's going to know that. If you type it with double zeros, not even the correct, phonetic breakdown, like it knows all these things. It's pulling from data sets that are astronomically large. So medical terms, yeah, it will generally have a really, really good sense of it. Legal terms, gentleman with the hat.
Can you just as easily add your own imagery?
Yes.
If
So
you're right.
I would say that's like level 2, where that's it's a Mid-Journey 102, where you're saying, hey, I want to upload. We had a friend was having a circus themed party, and he reached out to us. He was like, I don't really know how to use this stuff. Can you make me look like a what is it?
Yeah, a ring
A ring. Can you make me
ringleader?
Look like a ringleader with like elephants and stuff around? And we're like, yeah, send us a picture. We sent him back one. He's like, I got that printed and framed. So it can definitely take reference. You can combine 2 images and be like, literally take this and that and have some chimera bastard picture of the 2 of those things. So there's a lot of variation that you can do within that. And part of the things that we'll send as part of the pitch deck you can download does include like a tutorial breakdown from Midjourney themselves of like how to do a lot of these steps. All right, what do we got, Emma?
We got 2 images so far.
All right, not bad. Other questions?
Any more questions?
Come on, really? 2 questions? That's it? Just blew your minds.
You said you don't own the copyright. Does that mean somebody else does own some kind of copyright? If there's some.
The images generated here, you can't own them. So I don't know who would own them. I only know so much, but and it's a big conversation in Hollywood right now. And the thing that we are told over and over again is, don't try and pass off a Mid-Journey image or an AI image as your own. It won't stand up in copyright court. So the problem is not for pitch decks where you're just creating something for your own reference. The problem is if you were to then do this to try and sell images of this and be like, I created this, give me money, you'd get in trouble.
There was a case not too long ago of a woman who made like a kid's book and used all images. And
animated or AI images?
Yeah, AI images, and she wasn't able to get the copyright on it. Okay.
Companies like Adobe are now doing things where you can go in, because one of the problems is if you go in and do a bunch of things, AI might use 12 images to make a new image. 2 of them might be copyrighted that you can't use at all, and that causes a problem. So companies like Adobe are now going in and saying, we're only going to use images to create images that we already own the rights to, and then that kind of skates around, but it's the Wild West still.
Okay.
A question back here.
And this is interesting also, ChatGPT, I said in the style of Disney's Frozen, and it said I'm unable to generate images due to content policy restrictions. So that's probably because I said in the style of Disney's Frozen, which is actually good. So great job, ChatGPT, for putting a boundary on me.
I was wondering, Emma, you mentioned that you saw how bad of a writer ChatGPT was, so you thought, oh, my job is safe. Do you ever, I know part of the WGA...
I didn't say I think my job is safe. Let me be very clear.
Well, I was going to ask you about that because the WGA, one of the things the writers were striking about was sort of AI being or replacing certain creative jobs. Do you worry that it could become a better writer in the future, or what do you think, how can we protect creative industries from that?
It's definitely going to be a decent writer, for sure. It already is with some tweaking. It still continues to go into cliches, and where it doesn't go into cliches, it's because you're directly stealing from someone's work. So if you were to say, write this in the style of, I don't know, Aaron Sorkin, it could do a version of that, but then you're just stealing work from Aaron Sorkin. If there's one thing that's true about Hollywood, is they love money, and they hate paying anybody. So that's definitely a concern. What the WGA writer strike, the AI part of it, one of the big kind of pillars of that fight was that writers could use AI. There's no problem with that. Studios couldn't create AI works or option AI works. You have to hire a writer, and then the writer has to do it. And so a writer also can't be hired to rewrite a first draft of an AI-generated script. But the WGA recognizes, too, how amazing ChatGPT can be for the creative process, but you can't replace the screenwriter who's using it. So it's a nuance, but it was one of the reasons why I was full on for the strike. I was like, the Writers Guild is the first labor union to understand and fight for humans, even though AI is now part of the process. So very important nuance, but yeah, it's scary. Every day there's a new article about how some AI text to video companies coming in trying to revolutionize the way the industry works. And again, Hollywood loves money, so it's scary. It's very scary. I'm approaching it as a writer. First of all, it's a great writer's assistant, but also each person is so unique. We all come to the table with our own experiences, our own points of view, and you just have to double down on who you are, what is your authentic voice, what is your original voice, and continue to develop yourself. That's why if you rely too heavily on something like ChatGPT, you're going to be a terrible cliched writer, and it's going to be harder and harder and harder, because what these tools do, it enables, oh my gosh, the explosion and proliferation of content. And it's mid-content, right? It's fine. So what you have to do is to really exercise your creative self, your authentic self, your original self, and create something so unique and specific, even if it's wild. I was having a conversation earlier today with Emily, this amazing film professor who's in the audience, and we were talking about the difference between art and content creation. That is going to be the definition of the next at least 10 years. Don't be a content creator, be an artist.
So
mic drop.
Hey, mic drop. Speaking of mic, just wondering about how this has impacted like the advertising community, where they are doing a lot of pitches, a lot of campaigns. So this is great on the mood board, but I'm wondering what you've seen in the advertising community.
Yeah, I can speak to that a little bit. Or Doyle, do you want to talk to it? You're in advertising.
Yeah, it's being used a lot, quite honestly. And it is, unfortunately, because to Emma's point, I'm not sure 30-second commercials often qualify as art. Sometimes they do, but not often. And so it's real easy to kind of take these 3 commercials and make 3 more like it. And we're seeing quite a bit of that. At my company, we were talking about this before, I did an experiment and took a spec sheet and put it into ChatGPT and said, write a press release. If a college student gave that to me, I'd give it a C-. So, and it's because it's training off all that junk out there. But there are people really trying to do exactly what these folks are saying don't do. It's not doing the job for you. It's just a helper.
Yeah. And people are smart, right? Like we're going to get, I can tell when something has been created in ChatGPT. There's just a syntax to it. I'm like, oh, you're using shadow? For some reason, ChatGPT loves using shadow. Long run-on sentences, you can tell. So it's actually, it's going to be even harder in some ways to be a good writer, because now these tools make it so easy for anyone to write. So you really have to be unique and specific and authentic to yourself.
ChatGPT also loves adjectives.
Ugh,
I mean,
know.
really flowery. Like, your phenomenal career. You know, it's nauseating. So, question? Yeah. Oh, look, you're with us now.
You talk about the basic language, and that being something that comes through very rote, shall we say. But ideas, if you're building something and you're using original ideas and you're throwing it into a software program like this that other people have access to or whatever, do you have to somehow copyright your idea before you leave something like this?
I will die on this hill. Ideas are cheap. There's nothing valuable about most ideas. It's like you have to execute. Like there's nothing anyone in this room or outside has thought that's original probably. It's like it's very hard to do that fully. Like you have to go make the thing. It's not particularly concerning as a money grubbing producer, I say that. But
I mean, even yeah, Jake gave the example of there was one year where 2 or even 3 Snow White films came out. You'll see it a lot in Hollywood where it's like there's something in the water, something in the zeitgeist. Multiple films or TV shows around a similar subject will come out. How you execute it is everything. I'm sure we've all had the same idea or a similar idea for a movie before. How you execute it is key.
And in business too, it's very important. I noticed the other day that Zoom now has a feature where it will summarize your calls. That's great, but I don't know where that's going. And what if my Zoom call was about a stock trade that is illegal to release at this point in time? I don't know who has access to that. So I think we all have to be really careful with this giant vortex of words.
So I just put in the QR code.
yes.
And it goes through Google Slides, is that
yes.
correct?
Yeah.
So if you
Okay.
want to, here I can drop. If you want to. Do you want to go to the speaker notes on this and just pull that up? We can just do, we'll do a quick little walkthrough of what that QR code is going to, but I just put in the speaker slides of that slide.
Huh?
It's in the speaker's notes of that slide.
Where is that?
Yep.
Any other questions while they're pulling that up?
Cool. So we'll do just a speed run through, like, what is that QR code going to? So that QR code is going to this whole thing. The setup for this is basically we're going to give you the tool set. So what are the tools we used? There's a hyperlink to a couple tutorials that you can use, kind of a good sense of like what's the pricing structure for some of these things. The anatomy of a pitch deck, which we covered today. The template itself. So, I wouldn't say this is like formatting gold, but it's at least a good jumping off point. I tend to use Figma for a lot of my presentations, but you have the structure is all there.
And you said to copy it first, so can one download this to our own computer?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, and then we put together a Game of Thrones one just so you can kind of see holistically what does this start to look like.
And where this gets really interesting, what I use it for, so I will I'll write something and then use this to help me craft a log line. But I do all the writing outside of ChatGPT, totally separate from it. But then use ChatGPT to help me with the actual creation of the pitch deck text. It typically gets me 40% of the way, but it's a good first draft for me to be able to iterate. Because sometimes, for any of you who've tried to write or who do write, the blank page can be crippling, right? It's so hard to get past that first page.
And so, like, when we don't see title yet, that's going to be loaded to this?
So
this should just be empty so you can kind of add in your own thing.
Oh, we can do
Yeah.
Yeah. Dark Academia project's ours now, though, so you can't take that back.
When you're
All
trying
right.
to pitch a movie, do you typically send that out, or do you typically show up, put it out on the screen, and live pitch it?
That depends on the project.
Also,
Before
we're out of time, sorry.
Okay.
Yeah.
Before COVID, definitely would do it in person. Post-COVID, you usually send it ahead of time, then you meet and talk about it. Yeah.
We got time for a couple more questions.
Oh, never mind.
I just got the word. Any more questions? All
Sorry,
right.
yeah.
He kind of asked the same thing. I was just going to say, can you expand on, let's say you build a great pitch deck and how would you go about finding people to approach?
So yeah, is this for a movie, a TV show? Yeah. Have the script, first of all. If you want to do a movie or a TV show, you need the script and the pitch deck. That's industry standard. And then you would go and find screenplay competitions. You could use it to apply to grants. Grants typically, especially if you get past the first round, you almost always need some sort of reference beyond that. So it's just good materials to have as you begin your professional journey.
It's also really helpful if you want to do I am stupefied year after year. If you DM someone that you want to collab with, and you're like, hey, if they respond, you're like, let me send you a pitch deck.
Yeah, and you have a professional pitch deck that clearly articulates your vision, your story.
It goes a really long way.
Yeah.
I think DM via social media is outrageously successful.
Cool.
All right.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks to our panel.